What's up, my dudes, boys? We got to talk about these OEM paid micro DLC bikes that we're going to be getting with MX vs. ATV Legends. Yes, unfortunately, it does look like they are still using the old model of DLC sort of thing for their game. It's going to be very similar to the way it was back in, like, the past, like, 3 MX vs. ATV games, where they'll come out with all those different OEM bikes, and they cost, like, $3 or $4 a piece, and you can basically just go on there and buy whichever ones you want or don't want, right? So, but they did just post on their social media just a little while back where they said if you buy the Icon version of the game, the Icon pack version of the game, right, the $80 version of the game, then you get all 32, I think, OEM bikes in the game. That may be bikes included with ATVs and UTVs in the game, right? Because I know they do have those OEM versions of those as well. So, if you get that Icon pack, right, that $80 version of the game, then you'll get all of them, and I think that also comes with the 2022 track pack, which would be the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross track pack of MX vs. ATV Legends. So you basically get all that kind of stuff without having to, pay extra DLC type separate money for it, but you're still paying for it because you're paying more for the base version of the game to get the Icon version of the game. So that was kind of like a let me not screw you over directly, let me kind of go around the corner here a little bit and then screw you over that way. I just, like, you dudes over there at MX vs. ATV, have you not learned from what happened with MX vs. ATV Alive? You do realize the way that you guys did the micro DLC on Alive is pretty much what killed Alive's real potential to be like a really amazing dirt bike game. You do realize that, right? This game not coming out with any of the real supercross tracks and the 2 little supercross, more like arena cross track DLC that did come out. Whoa! Switzy boy tossing it and just leaving it, dude. Holy shit. Bro, I tell you what, I like the 250 better on Alive. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm actually on the Yamaha 450 right here because it was the only OEM bike that I had in this game on this account, right? But damn, I tell you what, that 250 though in this game, bro. But yeah, have you guys not learned from all that bullshit micro DLC separating every aspect of the game and making you nickel and dime pay for it on top of paying for the game? It's just a very, very stupid business model. It really is. It really is. Because then they didn't have the Supercross content they should have had in the base version of Alive. All the bikes and everything like that, the OEM bikes, you had to pay all that separate money for it, right? And I'm trying to think back to all the way back to that time frame. And that's the other thing is, it's like, if you don't have these OEM bikes purchased for MX vs. ATV Alive, you can't get them anymore. Because the little Moto Depot, whatever the fuck that thing was, is totally shut down at this point, if I'm not mistaken. You might be able to do it if you play it like the old 360 version of the game on a new Xbox. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't think you can still access all that. So that's another issue with it. Instead of just having all of the bikes in the game, having all the real-life bikes in the game, and then you just buy the base version of the game, and then everybody's got the bikes in the game, it creates this separate, split, weird bullshit, basically. That's all it really does. And it's not like you're really gonna make that much more money off of that. I'm just telling you right now, you're not. Because what most people are gonna do is they might go in there and buy one of those DLC bikes that's, you know, whatever kind of real life bike that whoever is playing the game rides, right? Like for me, I typically, if I buy any of these DLC OEM bikes, I'll just go in there and buy like the YZ250 or the YZ450 or something like that. And that's about all I do, right? So, but it's just, it's almost like there's no positive of having micro DLC paid for the OEM bikes in the game. There's no benefit of it because you're not going to make all that much more because somebody's only going to buy like $1 or $2, $3, you know, OEM bikes, whatever real life bike they have in the game. And then it also hurts the player because then the player can't go ride on all the other bikes in the game unless they spend another 20 or 30 bucks. So then they don't want to go do that. So then you basically taking away content in that sense, right? And you would make all that money by just having those bikes in the game, by selling more copies of the game. Have you not realized? Especially with how fragile the rebuilding state is of the MX vs. ATV series, it just would have been that perfect time to have just put those OEM bikes in the base version of the game and just made it come with the game. You know, you got to build this whole thing back up again. You're not still back like you were back in the Unleashed, Untamed Reflex days. Hell, you ain't even back to where you was in the Alive days. You know what I'm saying? So you need to be very careful with all that bullshit. Like, it's just not, it's not helping the game. And I feel like we're in that weird day and age where I feel like a lot of these like higher up dudes in these companies, it's almost like, we can't come out with a new video game of any kind if it doesn't have some kind of micro DLC. Well, it's got to have some kind of micro DLC in a video game in 2022. I mean, come on, bro. Right? It's like, heaven forbid we just don't have some of that for a game. Heaven forbid we just don't do all this bullshit nickel and diming for a game and just build the community back in these games. And, you know, put a track editor in the game and build it all back like all these hardcore fans are into MX bikes and the PC version of Reflex. You know, do you want to get back to that? You got to think about that, MX vs. ATV. All these guys nowadays are playing games like MX Simulator, MX Bikes, the PC version of Reflex that has all kinds of custom OEM bikes that you don't have to pay $1 for. Oh, bro. So do you see how idiotic that seems to then go over here to a console-based new MX vs. ATV game that they got to pay all these little chunks of change for all these OEM bikes in the game? You're not bringing more players to your game by having micro DLC OEM bikes. That's just a core critical aspect of a game that should be a part of the game. That should not be micro DLC. Anyways, Spency Boy could rant on about this for another century and a half. I just thought, you know, and I've been saying this from the jump. I done kept it real from the jump, man. Oh, bro. Oh, bro.